Hello guys and welcome to the real quick match edition of HeroesHype Amateur Series. I am Gillyweed. This is
You're awful. You're so awful. Oh, poor guy.
Come on.
That's
anyway, we have a new game for you guys. The quick match team has been disqualified. I am sorry, Team Orgizmic, but you should probably talk to the person who queues into a quick match right before a tournament, just as a thought. We've got quite a stomach ache, as Spirit Jew has said, on our hands, Inimical, because we have a game between the Dinner Excuse and their sister team, the Brunch Excuse.
Yeah, I thought these guys were like the same team. They just changed their name, but now apparently they're two different teams, and my mind has been blown. So
what I want to know is, do you like dinner or brunch better?
Oh man, I don't know. It's too hard. That's like a hard. I mean, I don't know. It depends on what, you know. A brunch is good because it's like breakfast, right? And breakfast is always good. Doesn't matter what time of the day. Bam, breakfast. But dinner, I don't know. I tell you what though, I like the Sylvanas band.
Breakfast for dinner, but would they have to be the Brenner Excuse then, or can you still have breakfast for dinner?
That's what they should call themselves if they combine.
They should combine. We've combined powers.
Or the Drunch.
The Brenner
or Drunch.
The Bruncher. The Bruncher Excuse.
Yeah.
Can't top that. Well, we do have a draft, so I'm going to hop into that before this conversation continues.
No, that's all right. Looks like we had a guy like you for quick match. Like, it's I mean... Oh, God.
It's good. It's fine. We're going to do this together, Inimical. We will make it through a game.
We're going to power through it.
We are.
No matter how much NyQuil I have to drink to make this a better experience.
The answer to that is a lot. So we've got the Dinner Excuse.
Oh my god, anyway, the Dinner Excuse has banned out Sylvanas, and they've picked up Jaina as their first pick, and the Brunch Excuse has managed to ban out Diablo. True saying Diablo having kind of an issue coming back into the meta after he was reworked in that patch, but whoa. Uther first pick here for Brunch Excuse. They're not messing around. They're like, yo, we want that Divine Shield.
So remember that these are two teams who play each other constantly. These are sister teams. They had so many members that they decided to break up and form two different teams. So these are players who play against each other a lot. So the picks and bans that we see are probably going to be very pointed and seem weird, but I think it's because we're seeing them with knowing each other so well that they're saying, okay, we have to have Uther here, or like we know that they have a good Diablo here. They know their new Diablo, and we can't let them have that.
Yeah, and the thing too is like they might be afraid of something that's run in NA a lot. Like it's just like almost like the default comp is going Diablo Tyrande, so they might not want to deal with that. So banning out Diablo makes some sense, but if any of you have been paying attention to the NA and EU scene, we do see that Stitches has kind of come back in a little bit as a kind of a Diablo replacement, because he can hook in and the Lunar Flare can drop, and it's essentially the same thing. It's actually safer because Stitches, you don't have to directly engage the enemy. You can just bring them to you. You know, it's like the lazy man's Diablo Tyrande in a way.
Exactly.
But with Brunch Excuse, we're seeing Vala get picked up as well. So just want to say that Kael'thas is still out there, and I feel like if the Dinner Excuse picks him up, oh god, I'm a genius. Anyway.
Well, Kael'thas and Jaina together are the team Fire and Ice, right? They're so good together because they have this crazy, amazing burst potential with the Flame Strike, Living Bomb as well, but especially, you know, the Flame Strike and Jaina's Blizzard too, is if you can get someone hooked in there, they're going to die. And I say hooked because I am hoping, like you mentioned, that we might have a Stitches.
It might be possible. You know, the thing that's really funny is that I never noticed this, but if you look at Kael'thas' portrait, his hand like just looks like he put it in a garbage disposal. Like, look at it. It's all like bent and twisted and weird. Isn't it like maybe it's the fire? Maybe he should have been like an ice mage, because Jaina looks great. You know, She hasn't aged today.
Well, remember that Kael'thas is of the Blood Elves, and that is, of course, a problem because they are addicted to magic, and maybe it warps and twists their bodies, and it's at least started with his hands, as he has those verdant spheres always around him. I don't know, but they picked up ETC, so they're choosing ETC as their tank, and it's a solid pick, right? There's always a place for ETC. He's great. He's got global map presence when you pick up this stage dive, but even if you don't want that, if you're wanting to set something up like a mosh pit, then you've got Kael'thas and Jaina to be able to follow it up with a ton of damage. So he's got a lot of applicability in here, and I don't see anything wrong with that. Now, we're going to see the Brunch excuse pick up Falstad. They may decide to get their tank here or get something like a Tyrande. We could even see them still go for yet another assassin, so that we've seen that a lot more, a tank, a support, and then 3 assassins, so that's a possibility as well.
Yeah, and Falstad, again, just as in with Sky Temple, he's got some great global presence, so he's a really good pick on this map as well. I'm not really sure what Brunch excuse is going to go for here, though. I mean, I feel like, okay, so there's their tank, so they're going to go with your favorite, Tyrael, which is a good pickup.
I can't help but favor Brunch a little bit more here, because not only do they have tasty breakfast foods, but they have Tyrael and Falstad, 2 of my 3 favorite heroes here, and that's pretty cool to see. I'm wondering if we'll see Tyrael do Judgment. We've been seeing a lot more Sanctification builds, which are super fun, and look who they have with the Tyrael. Uther. Sanctification, for those of you who don't know, because you only ever see Judgment because that's in the past the only thing that Tyrael's ever play, makes everybody except for Tyrael invulnerable for 3 seconds, and so you have to focus down the Tyrael. But guess what? If the Tyrael is also Divine Shielded, that's a problem, because he's also invulnerable.
Interesting. I like it. I like the Sanctification. I feel like we're going to see Judgment here, though, because if you Judgment Jaina or Kael'thas, it's pretty much GG for either one of those heroes. And actually, we see Dinner's round out their comp with Rhaegar and Illidan, which is kind of nuts. And Tyrael, Arthas, Stormleaf, meta. Oh, yeah, boys.
I love Tyrael and Arthas together. I like Tyrael and Noob as well, but Tyrael and Arthas is like the old school double tank, right? And it works now. We've seen it in Storm League so many times, and it does work.
It does. It does a ton of work. You get the root from the Howling Blast from Arthas. You build into the Frostmourne, a ton of damage. You can pick up Sindragosa here with him. Because there's that extra sustainability from having the HP on Tyrael as well, rather than Tyrael being another assassin, for example. It's going to be a lot of work for the Uther player, but I think this is great because, A, we've seen it in Storm League all the time, and you and I, we heart Storm League. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the double tank is really good against Illidan because it limits the amount of people Illidan can focus down, right? Because, Illidan can just thrash on Tyrael and Arthas for a long time while Thala and Falstad are just doing mad work. So, it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out. Mm-hmm. But I gotta say, I'm not supposed to be biased, but I'm totally rooting for the Brunch excuse here because they've tugged on my heartstrings just a little bit.
They have indeed. And now remember too, guys, that we have a Tyrael Falstad situation on our hands, which begs to the question, will they Judgment and Hinterland Blast and set up the Crispy Taco for us? Because Crispy Taco with Tyrael and Arthas, I mean, at first I was rooting for the Sanctification, but now I can't help but root for the Crispy Taco because I love the TGN guys so much.
Yeah, I am just, so pumped. I feel like it's gotta be Judgment, though. Sanctification is good, but, there's not a lot of lockdown on the side of Dinner, right? Mm-hmm. They've got ETC with the power slide. Kael'thas has his little airlift thingy that Rubik has in Dota 2. I think it's Rubik. Anyway, yeah, so I feel like just being able to Judgment 3 of the squishies that are on Dinner Excuse is going to be a great thing, especially if you can Judgment Illidan, when he pops, right before he pops Metamorphosis. then you pretty much eliminate him from the equation, right? So probably won't see sanctification. I don't mean to rain on your parade, but we'll see.
That's all right. I love the Tyrael Falstad. It is so much fun. And then besides that, if you're able to Judgment in, if you like Howling Blast and then Judgment in, all of a sudden you've got two people there, two tanks who deal a lot of damage as well. They are some high damage dealing tanks. Arthas with his Frozen Tempest, Tyrael with basically like everything he has, and then he's able to shield him and Arthas as well. Arthas can keep self-healing, and then while they're doing that, Vala and Falstad are throwing out a ton of damage. It's going to be pretty cool, but remember, we have the Dinner Excuse who have 3 of the top damage dealers right now. Kael'thas, Jaina, and Illidan. You're right, it is going to be a burden on that Uther to keep them all up.
Yeah, I mean, even with Divine Shield, which actually is kind of nice, you go double tank with Uther, you kind of don't have to Divine Shield. I mean, ideally, you're not going to want to Divine Shield the Tyrael or the Arthas, but you can. There's no rule that says that you can. I mean, you might need it depending on how the engagement goes, but being able to have your primary focus be a Vala or a Falstad, it's going to be really good, because both of those heroes do a lot of damage as well, so I kind of want to favor Brunch Excuse here just because of the double tank. We see actually double tank is huge in Europe right now. So it took the Europeans a little bit longer to catch on to what the Chinese are doing, but the Europeans have looked at the Chinese meta, I would say, a lot more than the NA teams. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're seeing, I mean, double tank it's almost the standard in EU right now. That's kind of how good it is. But Dinner Excuse has a lot of burst damage output, so it's going to be close, but I want to give the edge to Brunch, just like I said, complete heartstrings.
Heartstrings indeed, and don't forget we're on Blackheart's Bay, a map that we don't often see in terms of picks, so that's pretty cool too. We're going to see a little bit of PvE, but we'll also see teams constantly rotating, trying to move around and get all those objectives, as this map has a ton of objectives, and then a lot of team fights hopefully around that turn-in point, as it is the main point of contention.
Yeah, and actually the thing about this map as well is this is like one of the few maps where you can play and not have to directly engage your opponents. Like, you really can just stay away from the enemy team and just get camps, get coins, turn in when it's safe, and kind of minimize the amount of team fights that you're going to take. So that might be a strategy we see from Dinner Excuse.
I've got the teams backwards. Whoops, that's not something I meant to do. So I'm going to ask you to go ahead and introduce them. The Brunch Excuse is blue.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Because I'm looking, well, no, blue for me is different, I think, than you. So right now I'm looking at the blue side, which is Rhaegar, Caterpillar on Rhaegar, Rando Bob on Illidan, ETC on Xandros, Jaina on Lu on Jaina, and Charge on Kael'thas. And I think that's Dinner Excuse,
That is the
right?
Dinner Excuse, yes.
Okay.
And in the blue here is Sarb on Falstad, Broken Condom on Tyrael, Herbalist playing Vala, Rommel on Arthas, and Narumi Leet playing Uther. That is the Brunch Excuse. This is going to be difficult, guys, but bear with us, and here we go. Right away, a fight around the smiley face, but so far not too much damage either ways. It looks like the Brunch Excuse might be okay to back off, let the Dinner Excuse have it initially as they set up, try to get this first wave, minion wave pushed way far so that they can be in a great position when the first chest spawns.
Yeah, the thing that's funny is that, like, everyone would complain about fighting in Vision at the beginning of this map, but, like, everybody still does it. It's so funny. It's like something that everyone hates, but everyone just does, like, well, I guess we gotta go to Vision and fight right away. But we're seeing the chest spawn here, and it looks like the first one's going to go to, or top chest is going to go to Brunch Excuse. As Falstad will pick up the bottom one.
Went to Dinner Excuse. Bottom one went to the Brunch Excuse.
Oh god, I'm sorry. The colors.
No, it's okay. It's going to be difficult. But yeah, the Brunch Excuse did a really good job of realizing that they were 4v5 on top, didn't lose any members for that chest, let Sarb pick up the chest, and right now they're 5 coins each.
Actually, what's really interesting is we're for both teams. Well, for hold on, for Dinner Excuse, we're seeing 3 top and 2 bot. Like Rhaegar and Jaina were going bot lane, and on this map we generally don't see 2 people bot. We normally see someone soloing, but the only person they have to solo really is ETC. And we're actually seeing an engagement right now. How the glass goes down, Rhaegar's going to get trapped, but he will get away. So it's just a little poking here in mid from both teams.
Yeah, the Dinner Excuse came down and tried to gank someone, but the person they picked and got a stun off on was Rommel, and that's not going to do too much because that's Arthas, and he's pretty tanky. So they weren't able to get much done there. Rhaegar did take some damage, but he's going to be content to go and start grabbing those pirate camps. Rhaegar is so good at this, at being able to just run around and get the pirate camps really fast because he is so mobile as he has that Ghost Wolf mounted ability. Herbalist is going to take these pirate camps up on top now, and they're going to continue to trade in terms of points.
Yeah, and actually Rhaegar's totem with his lightning shield is really, really effective for clearing creeper waves and clearing those smaller camps. So it definitely makes Rhaegar a good pickup on this map. Actually, I want to talk about the talent, the level 1 talent from Arthas. It's going to be Regeneration Master, which I actually have played a lot and I love. On Hot Slogs, you'll see most people take Block or like Frostmourne for Arthas, but Regen Master, if you send Arthas to the mid lane on this map, you can just bounce between mid and top and just continuously get globes. And once you get enough of those globe stacks, we do see them go down right there, but once you get enough of those globe stacks, Arthas is really, really hard to deal with. Plus, it sets you up for not being as weak if you decide to go for Syndragosa, which we might see from this Arthas player.
This gank squad is missing out on some of the soak on top, but in doing so was able to pick up the Arthas kill and secure a tower kill as well. That's something that you always have to be mindful of if you're going to run a gank squad comp like they're doing, is if you're going to miss out on the soak experience, then you need to mitigate that loss by getting kills, picking up kills, or getting some sort of objectives like that tower, and they're doing a great job with it. They are staying at least neck and neck in terms of experience, which is at least where you want to be. Arthas also picked up the Frozen Waste talent, which I'm also a little bit surprised at, as you mentioned that they've been picking up Frostborn Hungers a lot, and Frozen Waste is a little bit of an older talent in terms of his builds.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it reduces the mana cost of your Frozen Tempest, but honestly, if you're not jamming, like, you don't just let the E key up, it generally doesn't hurt you that much. Like, you just have to be mindful, so it's very odd to see this picked up, actually. I would have just rather liked to see the Frostmourne build, but, you know, we'll see what else he decides to go for.
Alright, well, on bottom, the Dinner Excuse is starting to go after the bottom bruisers. They were able to secure that first turn, and because they took out that turret, the fort will go down. So that's going to definitely catapult them ahead in terms of experience in this early game. Both teams do have their level 7 talents, though, and Brunch Excuse is doing a really good job of trying to keep up in terms of experience.
Interesting. Rune tap for Arthas. That's pretty general, or that's pretty standard for Arthas. A lot of rune tap. I mean, basically what that does is give you a heal. So I'm just paying attention to the Arthas build because it's very unique. It's definitely not a build that we see, that I've seen from any Arthas in any league, in any scene. So very interesting.
Definitely, yeah. It's more of an old school Arthas build, back when he was really big before Venom was taken away from him. Chests are up. Falstad has gone down, though, which is frustrating for him because he did have that Gathering Power talent, but I don't think he had very many stacks yet, so it's not too big of a deal. Broken Condom was able to pick up a lot of those coins, but will he be able to get away with it? He's shielding. Oh, and Xander's coming in, going to Face Melt, and back. Interior will go down. That's 4 coins that Dinner Excuse will be able to pick off of their sister team. Now, Rumi, the next one to go down, and 4 more coins will be grabbed for the Dinner Excuse, doing a great job of picking off those heroes with the coins.
Yeah, and this is kind of what Dinner Excuse wants. They have that early, bursty composition, so the more heroes that they can find out on the map and gank, the better it is going to be for them. It's going to secure them a level lead, which, as we see now, they're 9 to 8 right now, but Brunch Excuse is catching right back up. You know, they're doing a really good job. They were doing a really good job at staying in lane and laning, but now is going to be the time where they want to start sticking together, because as Dinner Excuse gets to level 10, things are going to get really hairy, and we see this now with a little bit of an engagement mid, but it'll just be a little posture and both teams will back off.
And there are the heroic abilities for the Dinner Excuse. Let's see what they're going to pick up. We do see Mosh Pit, so there it is. They are going to be trying to capitalize on locking people down and then throwing a ton of damage on that. And Water Elemental from Jaina, and the Phoenix, though, from Kilda. So being a little bit safer here. Here comes Unzandros. They want to try to steal these bruisers, and they can do so. And there is the Mosh Pit. 3 people caught in it. And here comes Illidan too with the Metamorphosis. Instantly, Arthas already gets melted. There goes Uther as well. Herbalist will get away though with the majority of their coins, but that's going to mean bruisers and 2 heroes down for the Brunch excuse.
That's kind of what I was saying, right? Like, they needed to stick together because the more that they separate, the more targets that Dinner Excuse is going to have for this composition. And even though kills don't matter as much before level 10, they definitely do add up the more kills that you get. We already see it's 6-0, so that's a lot of kills at 7 minutes into this game for Dinner Excuse.
And when you have a level 10 advantage for so long, that's enabling you to be able to paint the map in your favor, which then just helps catapult and keep you in the lead, just solidifying that lead even more, and that's what we're seeing. Now, there are the level 10 abilities for the Brunch excuse. I forgot to mention that there was also Ancestral and Metamorphosis for the Dinner excuse. Brunch is going to pick up Summon Syndragosa, the Rain of Vengeance, Hinterland Blast, Judgment, and Divine Shield from Uther.
Yeah, and actually, we see Phoenix for Kael'thas. I want to talk about this. On this map, it's really, really good to use to zone people out of the turn-in. And especially if you're taking an engagement in turn-in, you can literally zone out half a team if you put the Phoenix properly. Plus, the cooldown on it's only 40 seconds, so it looks like we're going to see an engagement here as well.
There goes the Syndragosa. It slowed people down, but they didn't really capitalize on it too much, and now it's pretty much gone. So that's kind of unfortunate, and there is the Phoenix, too. It's really going to help zone. They had to back up off that, and that allows the Dinner excuse to be able to put the engagement on their terms. They can decide whether or not they want to engage, and so they would be the ones running in, whereas the Brunch excuse would have to be the ones who are just running away. But no engagement so far, and like you said, the Phoenix cooldown is so low, 40 seconds, that you pretty much have it like every team fight. It's so crazy, and the way that it can zone, because it does a lot of damage, is just, it's a fantastic ability.
Speaking of which, it's already back up for Kael'thas. That's how fast the cooldown is. Like, personally, I think Kael'thas was released a little bit prematurely. I feel like he's just way too strong, and some of his cooldowns are just kind of ridiculous. And what is it, Lunar Explosion? Is that that's what it's called? Not Lunar. The explosion is no, well, the explosion that like you can build into it where it chains to multiple enemies.
Oh, the living bomb talents, yeah.
Yes, thank you. And yeah, I haven't bought him yet, so I haven't played him, but I've played against him enough to know that like there are some of his abilities are really ridiculous. We see the Judgment come down on the squishy.
Oh, and Syndragosa is down as well, and that's a really good Syndragosa. Everyone's really slowed, although Rhaegar was able to heal himself, and that means all the damage put on him was for basically nothing, and now Vala and Arthas are down. There goes Falstad and Uther as well. Only Tyro remains, and he will be the next one to die. He's going to go in, try to blow up on people, but that's not going to be enough to kill him. And that's going to be a complete team wipe, and we should definitely see Dinner excuse heading up to boss.
Yeah, I mean, even though Brunch excuse, they're going to have short timers, unfortunately it's going to take them another 5 to 10 seconds to get the boss when they do spawn, so this is more than enough time for Dinner excuse to capitalize on this boss. As you see, they only need 3 people there. Kael'thas is coming in to help out, but they're not even really going to need him. Boss is already at half health. I mean, it's going to help, but really, this comp is just lined up to deal with double tank really well, and we're kind of seeing how well it can deal with double tank. I mean, these guys are getting split up, and they're just getting completely decimated. I mean, Jaina was ice blocked for most of that fight, and by the time she popped out of it, half of Brunch excuse was already dead, so lots of gank potential, early gank potential. We still see it's 11-0 right now, so they're down, Brunch excuse that is, they're down 3 levels. They need to get that level 13 before Dinner excuse does hit 16 here, because being 2 levels down in this game is really, really difficult to deal with and come back from.
And like you mentioned, level 13 talents have been picked up by Dinner excuse. They've had him for a while now, and Kael'thas is doing that standard building into the living bomb. Even picking up Chain Bomb here, feeling really confident in his positioning. Improved ice block for Jaina. So Jaina did go ahead and pick up something a little safe. They're not going for the icy veins, which is always good, because if you do get judgmented by the Tyrael, you can hit that, and that forces him to kind of move off and reposition a little bit. And here we do have another engagement on Xandros just going in, and so much damage already being dealt because of that Phoenix. And Herbalist Sarb, I mean, everybody from Brunch is so low. Ours is to be the first to drop, but False Start and Material are right behind. There goes Uther as well. And now only Vala remains. It already has used Vault, so just going to try to run away as fast as humanly possible. But that's so hard to do versus an Illidan, and now Rando Bob's on the case. No more mana for Herbalist, who will be taken out. And now there goes a keep. They'll be heading straight for core.
Yeah, and they will have Arthas back up here in about 5 seconds, but it's going to be enough to do some damage onto the score. They might not get it, but they're going to get a lot of HP down here. And actually, there goes the Syndragosa, the Phoenix goes down, more members coming out here for Brunch Excuse. They will get a kill, but the core is going to go down. GG, Dinner Excuse, completely wiping the floor there in all those engagements. They won 17-1 in the kills, so very dominant performance from them.
Yeah, you know, in StarCraft you see these team kills where you basically will see, you know, a Team Liquid player have to play another Team Liquid player, and it's so interesting to see them face each other because they have all these strategies because they play and practice versus them all the time, and I think that a lot of that is what we saw there. But I do think that in terms of like A team, B team, the Dinner Excuse was the ones slated to win there, even though we were all hyped about the Brunch Excuses team comp. It was the Dinner Excuse who I think is more of the like big sister type team, and so they will go on to the round of 8, which we will have coming up next. I'm not sure which match we will have from the round of 8, but final thoughts on that game, Inimical, before we move on?
You know, I like picking up the Uther for the Divine Shield, but they ended up not building into Illidan, so looking back, if they were going to go double tag, Brightwing is definitely the hero that we always saw with double tag or triple tag in the Chinese scene, and it's just because Brightwing has that trait heal which spams every 5 seconds. Plus, you know, you can get regenerative ray. It's just keeping your teammates alive is a lot easier with Brightwing than it is for Uther. So maybe a Brightwing there would have been the better choice, but it looked like the way they had drafted, they just kind of had double tag as an afterthought. You know, I mean, I'm not sure, you know, what they were thinking.
Yeah, I'd be interested in knowing that too, with the Uther first pick, what exactly their plan was. Like maybe they were forcing the Dinner Excuse to play with the Illidan, but then Illidan was in the last pick, so if they grabbed him thinking, okay, well, we'll go Illidan, they never did so, or even like a Kerrigan, which is something that we often see. So I agree. Versus the Illidan, I think the Brightwing would have been definitely a better support in terms of the polymorphs and overall just keeping the heals alive. Maybe even a Malfurion. I've seen Malfurion handle keeping a whole team alive versus a metamorphosized Illidan, but I guess that's it so far. We do have Envy Gaming, Flick of the Wrist, The Plays, and Perfect Crime all in the round of 8, guys. We're going to take a really short break, and when we come back, we will be moving into the round of 8 with another best of 1. See you soon.